Good afternoon. I hope you guys are enjoying your afternoon after school, but we do have homework, all right, 5-2 video. So just like 4-2, I'll be going through these slides, all right. It is very similar to the last section in that you will add or subtract the numerator. Where it's going to change is that the denominators are different. So you have to find a common denominator, all right. So when you're choosing the denominator, these are some steps that you can take. You first look at the denominators. Does the smaller number, the smaller denominator, go into the higher number evenly? All right, for instance, if you had a 2 and a 4, all right, the 2 will go into 4, all right, evenly. So therefore, that would be the denominator that you choose. You would just keep the 4, all right, and then all you have to do is change the denominator that would have a 2, all right. If they are not, if the smaller number does not go into the larger denominator, all right, then you have some choices, all right. You can find the least common multiple, all right. You find the least common multiple, and that is going to be your denominator, okay. Remember, the least common multiple is the smallest number that both numbers will go into evenly. So find the least common multiple between the two. For instance, if you had 3 and 8, all right, the smallest number that 3 and 8 will both go into is going to be 24. So you would multiply the 3 denominator by 8, okay, and then you would multiply the 8 denominator by 3, okay, to get both common denominators to be 24, all right. Another option is if you can't find a least common multiple or you don't know what it is, you can always multiply the two denominators together. Okay, so for instance, if you had, I don't know, 4 and 7, and you don't know what the least common multiple is, then you can always multiply 4 and 7 together, okay, to get a common denominator. All right. Once you have found the number, then you multiply. Once you found what the denominator should be, you multiply the top and the bottom number by the same number. Okay. I'm going to show you some examples so that way you can start seeing kind of what I'm talking about. So if we were adding 4/5 plus 1/10, all right, you'll notice that 5 and 10 are not the same number, so therefore you need to make sure that you find the least common multiple or multiply the two bottom denominators together to get a common denominator. I'm going to use the least common multiple. So the least common multiple of 5 and 10 is going to be 10. Okay, all right, and so I need to make the denominator of 4/5 into 10. Okay, so what times 5 will give me 10? 2. So I need to multiply the top and bottom of 4/5 by 2. All right, and if I multiply the top and the bottom both by 2, I'm going to get 8/10. Okay, then you add in the 1/10. Which is from the original problem, 4/5 plus 1/10. All right, so now I have 8/10 plus 1/10. 8 plus 1 is 9. 9/10 is my answer. Okay. So looking at the next one, you've got to do the same thing. Okay. You've got to look at the denominator, see what you can find that is the least common multiple. Okay. So the least common multiple of 8 and 3 is actually 24, but you could also just multiply the denominators together if you don't know what the least common multiple is. In this case, it's actually the same thing. The least common multiple of 8 and 3 is 24. So looking at 5/8, I need to make that a denominator of 24. So I got to figure out what I need to multiply the top and the bottom by. Well, 8 times what gives me 24? It's 8 times 3. So 3 times 8 will give me 24 on the bottom. 5 times 3 is 15. So on the top, I'll end up getting 15. The bottom is then my 24, my common denominator. Then looking at the second fraction, 2/3, I need to make the denominator 24. So I look at it, and I need to figure out what to multiply 3 by to get 24. Well, from the previous one, we multiplied it by 8. So 3 times 8 is 24. So our denominator is 24. And our top, 2 times 8, is 16. So the second fraction is 16 over 24. All right. So now that I have a common denominator, I need to go ahead and add together the numerators. All right. The first fraction, 5/8, turned into 15 over 24. So I need to take the numerator 15, add it to my second one, 2/3 turned into 16 over 24. So I need to add together the 16. So 15 plus 16 equals 31 over 24. All right. And I had actually messed up and didn't correct this slide. So on this slide, it's not 1 and 24. It's actually, when you take 31 divided by 24, you get 1, but then what's left is actually 7. Okay? So your answer should be 1 and 7 over 24. All right, is your answer. 31 over 24 reduces down to 1 and 7/24. So looking at the next problem, we're getting into subtraction of fractions with unlike denominators. Same process for finding a denominator, all right? And the same process as you do in addition. The only difference is instead of adding the numerators, you're now going to subtract them, okay? So once again, 4/5 minus 1/10 is our problem. We need to find the least common multiple, all right? The least common multiple of 5 and 10 is going to be 10 itself, all right? So I just need to change the first fraction since the second fraction, 1/10, already has our common denominator. So what times 5 will give me 10? 5 times 2. So since I multiplied the bottom by 2, I need to multiply the top by 2. All right, so 4 times 2 is 8. So now the first fraction, 4/5, turns into 8 over 10. So now it's 8/10 minus 1/10. So I subtract the numerators, 8 minus 1, which is 7. So my answer is 7/10. Looking at the second problem, we're doing subtraction yet again, okay? And so now it's 10 over 11 minus 1/2, all right? So the least common multiple of 2 and 11 is 22, all right? If you didn't know that, once again, you could just multiply the denominators together and then figure out, and then that would be your common denominator. So looking at the first fraction, 10 over 11, I need to convert the denominator to 22. So what times 11 is going to give me 22? Well, it's 2. So 2 times 11 on the bottom is 22. Since I multiplied by 2 on the bottom, I need to multiply by 2 on the top. All right, so I multiply by 2 on the top. 10 times 2 is 20. So my 10 over 11 turned into 20 over 22. On the second one, 1/2, I need to figure out what times 2 will give me 22. Well, it's 2 times 11. So I multiply by 11 on the bottom, and then I need to multiply by 11 on the top. So 1 times 11 is going to be 11. The bottom is going to be 2 times 11, which is 22. So the second fraction is 11 over 22. So now that I have a common denominator, I now need to subtract the numerators. So the first fraction is 20 on the numerator. The second one is 11. So 20 minus 11 is 9 over 22. So looking at these problems, you need to make sure that you are finding a common denominator. If it's easier for you to multiply the denominators together so that way you automatically know that you have a common denominator, that's fine. Remember that whatever you multiply the denominator by, you also multiply the numerator by. All right? That is key. If you forget, always remember that you can go back to this for choosing the denominator. Go back to this slide. It's a good way, and it's going to be the most common way that we use in discussing how we find the denominators. All right?